So I do not know what's going on in the ATP. I just don't have the bandwidth. So, wishing them luck.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Body Serve. I'm Jonathan.
I'm James.
We are at episode 398, 2 away from 400. We've been doing a little bit of planning for what the rest of the season is going to look like, and we know that 400, barring something crazy happening in tennis, will be our Hot Man episode.
Oh, it will? There's so much left still. There's Paris, there's WTA and ATP Finals, Davis Cup.
Right, but 400 has to be something special, does it not?
Yeah.
And then we'll probably do a TV episode as well, I think. We usually do one, don't we?
We have, yes.
We usually do at least one per year.
Okay.
Let's begin with some actual feel-good stories in tennis. Kind of unusual. We tend to end up on the dour, sour side of things with this podcast. But we can start with Shanghai and Wuhan, where we got then world number 204 Valentin Vacherot winning a Masters 1000 tournament, and Coco Gauff coming from the depths of hell to win in Wuhan.
Was it really that dire?
Well, that's how it's framed every time she goes through one of her slumps, and she always seems to find a way out.
Basically, an imitation of exactly what happened last year in China. Coco getting her year back on track. But first, of course, we're late to this. You all have already read about Vacherot and the cousin final and everything, but we have to cover it.
There's another cousin. Did you know that? There's a WTA cousin as well.
Yes, Paquet.
This man, where to even start? He wasn't even qualified to play qualifying in Shanghai. He was on the alternate list, and a bunch of people had to withdraw or pull out before he even got into qualifying. He wins through, gets to the main draw, and goes all the way to the title. It's quite remarkable.
Of course, the lowest ranked man to ever win a Masters 1000 tournament. He actually wouldn't have even had a chance to get on the alternate list for qualifying had Shanghai not expanded to a 96-player draw. Like, that's how far out he was from qualifying.
It's one of the big feel-good stories of the year, joining the likes of Mboko in Canada, Venus at the US Open, Boisson at the French Open. Pretty good.
Vacherot had texted a former college, teammate, quote, "I'm going to go take my chance in Shanghai Qs because a sick run can come at any second."
Shanghai Qs being Shanghai qualifying.
Mm-hmm. And this is like the sort of thing that they make inspirational sports movies out of, that exact text message, because that's incredible. And you think about the expense that goes into taking a chance in Shanghai. It's not exactly around the corner from home in Monaco, right? It's a huge commitment and cost just to roll the dice and hope you win a qualifying match.
And with that big paycheck, he now says he can plan in 2026 to have his parents on tour with him, which is not something he was able to do before, saying that he's going to have them in Australia for the Australian Open. He's going to be in the Australian Open main draw.
Right. He flew from outside the top 200 to number 40 in the world, I believe. And they're making $1 million now, winning Masters tournaments.
And look at the people he beat. This was not just, I got super lucky to win this title. In the main draw, he beat Bublik, Mahac, Griekspoor, Rune, Djokovic, and cousin Rinderknecht.
Djokovic hampered again physically, and we saw it in Six Kings Slam, where he played a 75-minute first set against Taylor Fritz, retired from the match. Holger Rune, who had been playing well, who won Barcelona earlier, had a catastrophic injury, which we'll get to in a little while. But these are great wins. Rinderknecht, for his part, beat Medvedev and Felix, both of whom would go on to win titles the following week.
You're just giving away all the stories that happened
these aren't
after
spoilers.
this tournament.
And he also beat Lehechka, who was the runner-up to Felix in Belgium.
Vacherot came back from losing the first set in 6 of his 9 matches in Shanghai, including the final. That trophy ceremony, wow. That is just the cherry on top of the sundae. Is that the expression? Icing on the cake?
Yeah, cherry on top. You don't have to say the sundae.
His cousin was super happy for him.
And also cramping, was he not?
Vacherot was amused by that.
Everybody was cramping. Sinner, of course, had to retire in his match. I think we talked about that on our previous episode. The heat was a serious issue in Shanghai. The humidity. And it turns out the ATP does not have a heat rule like the WTA and the slams. They both use the wet bulb globe temperature. That's what it's called, right?
Globus bulbus temperature, whatever.
Yeah, remember that from a few years ago at the Australian Open? We all had to learn what that means. Both the slams and the WTA already have heat rules. Now the ATP says they're open to it. It's, quote, under active review. I don't know what took so long and why they're making it sound like this is such a big step when the other institutions in the sport already do this.
If you recall, the tenor and the tone of us talking about Shanghai in the last episode was not very charitable toward the tournament and the ATP. And I'm glad that this result happened because it shows us that there are stories that can emerge to buck the narrative, to buck the Sinner-Alcaraz narrative on the ATP that makes the tennis worthwhile, makes it worth watching.
Mm-hmm.
We've been living through this era of dominance with those two men winning the last 8 slams, and we've gotten the impression, or we've bought into the idea that if those two aren't in the final, then it's going to be a flop, kind of thing. Like, we've perpetuated that to an extent, and these two showed that that's not always the case. Granted, they have a pretty incredible backstory and context built into the match that helped, but I wanted to add that little caveat there to pull back from the negativity, just this once.
And it's gotten to a point in the season where a lot of the players are exhausted and a little pissy, and we're probably a little pissy too. Sometimes it gets tiresome following the results week in and week out. Imagine what it's like playing. You know, we had players complaining about the weather, the schedule, the court speed, and so this was a nice antidote to all of that. Now over in Wuhan, Coco Gauff, okay, recall last year, North American hardcourt swing, not great. Not like 2023, right? When she won the US Open, when she won Canada, I think. Last year, she gets to China, wins Beijing, reaches the semis in Wuhan. This year, she has a disastrous North American swing, reaches the semis in Beijing, and wins Wuhan.
Well, she had a rough go of it after winning the French Open.
Yeah.
Losing first round in Berlin, losing first round in Wimbledon, getting to Canada, making the 4th round. Cincinnati, she makes the quarterfinal. US Open, 4th round loss to Naomi Osaka. China, she starts to show better form, loses to Anisimova in the semifinals. It's been building a little bit in China.
Yes, which is what happened last year. And she said the way she thinks about it is she almost looks at these tournaments as practice, which she knows sounds a little weird, but somehow it's able to free her mentally. Because you know the way people were talking about her tennis and her career, even if she was reaching 4th rounds and quarterfinals, as you said, things were not looking great, right? Even if the results were okay. It wasn't like losing first rounds, but it was like a visual thing. But she is capable of producing some beautiful tennis, which she did in the final against Pegula.
Straight-setted Pegula in the final. She straight-setted everybody at this tournament, winning all 5 matches in straight sets. Her coach had suggested that she not even go to China and just do practice sessions instead. What do you call them? Training blocks?
Yeah.
And just like last year, as you said, she flips the script. She decides to go against that advice. And I guess this is the practice that she prefers.
Right. Coco is just a remarkable player in that she is willing to gut it out, and she's willing to put in some ugly matches with lots of double faults and trust in herself that out of nowhere something's going to happen, right? And it felt like this Beijing semi, this Wuhan win was kind of out of nowhere, but it's in keeping with how her career goes. It's not a surprise when she wins big tournaments because they happen in the midst of slumps.
Pegula had a great tournament, beating Sabalenka in the semifinals, which is no small feat in Wuhan. Sabalenka was previously undefeated there, having won the title 3 times, and she had also won 19 straight tiebreaks until that semifinal loss to Pegula. Jessie broke her 7 times, the second most times Sabalenka has been broken in a match this year.
You saw Arena chuck her racket at the ball kid?
I actually did not see that.
You know, when I was writing this on the agenda, I was like, should I say she threw the racket at the ball kid? And then I was like, yes. Why lie? Why are we sugarcoating it? She threw the racket at the ball kid. I'm not saying that
But she didn't intend
exactly
to.
Right.
She didn't mean it, James.
No, they never. Of course, they never mean it. I'm not saying she intended to hit this child, but she threw the racket at the child in the direction of them. She was lucky it didn't hit them. She lost anyway, but it would have been an embarrassing default. Or, I mean, in some cases, they've been getting out of defaults for strange reasons. You know, some players whack the ball into the stands, hit somebody, still don't get defaulted. I don't understand the judgment calls going on, but it's a super embarrassing look for any player, let alone the number one player. Get it together.
This week we had a bunch of tournaments, so many tournaments, not even including the Six Kings Slam farce. The 5 titleists, Felix in Brussels, your curse is over, as Felix's biggest...
It was a blessing. It was a benediction.
As his biggest op, he has somehow risen above it. Layla wins in Osaka, so twin wins for Canada this past week. Medvedev back in the winner's circle. It's been a long time. Did you know how many days?
I do, because they blasted it everywhere.
Well, I meant, did you know how many days before that number kept circulating everywhere?
No.
I didn't realize it had been well over 2 years since he'd won a tournament. Casper wins in Stockholm, and Rybakina wins in Ningbo.
Let's start with the Canadians. 2 Canadians win titles again in the same week. And I say again because it kind of happened already this year. There was a week when Denis Shapovalov won Los Cabos and the Canadians won Hopman Cup. I don't know if you count it, but in the week following Los Cabos, Layla won DC, then Vicky Mboko won Montreal. It's been a great year for Canadians. Layla is now a 2-time titleist. Felix had won those 2 titles early in the season, and I cursed him by saying, I don't think he's going to win another one. But I told you, it was an anointing. I was just trying to motivate the man.
It was completely unnecessary that early in the season, after he'd already won 2 tournaments, to then say that for the rest of 2025 he would not win another event. It was crazy.
I love being proven wrong.
Really?
This is what happened with Alejandro Davidovich this season as well.
Are you saying
I didn't pick him, and then he had probably his best season?
Are you saying it was an anti-jinx?
It
was intentional?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with that.
I've had people write in to say that you better hold James's feet to the fire in this episode because he was so out of pocket.
I will remind you that I was there for him in his hour of need against those nasty, nasty people at the US Open.
In the final in Belgium, Auger-Aliassime beat Lehechka in 3 sets. No break points faced, 17 aces. He has the most match wins on tour on indoor hard courts since 2020. So since the pandemic, Felix's 76 wins on indoor hard courts is the most on the ATP Tour. We know he is the indoor king.
That feels like a lot. This is from the ATP, so I'm not doubting the stat. It just felt like a ton of match wins. But this is where he cleans up. Like, this is where he's won most of his titles.
He's making a play for the ATP Finals, much like he did in the fall of 2022, where he had some big results to qualify. He's currently 9th. Who knows if Djokovic is going to play? He may be, in effect, the 8th seed right now, but we'll see.
Right now, he's chasing Musetti. He's a few hundred points behind him. Back in 2022, he won, there was a 250 in Florence, Italy, Antwerp, and Basel, and reached the semis in Paris to qualify for the ATP Finals. He may not have to do all of that this time.
He's now played in 19 finals and won 8 of them. Remember, he was the Monfils of this generation for a while, losing his first 8 finals. That was crazy.
I remember it well.
And since then, he's gone 8-3 in ATP finals. 4 finals this year. Because recall, he also made the final in Dubai. Which makes which makes what you did even worse.
Oh, because he made a final like shortly after I said that? He didn't win it.
Oh.
Felix is a married man now. Thanked his new wife in his speech.
We talked about Layla winning in Osaka. She's been playing good ball lately.
She has. Of course, she won Washington, D.C. in July. This is the 5th title of her career.
She beat 18-year-old Valentova in the final, who herself has had a major rise this year after winning the girls' Roland Garros title last year. She qualified for her first slams at the French Open and US Open, winning a match at each. She's won 2 125 titles this year in Grado, Italy, and Porto, Portugal. At this tournament, she qualified, beating 2 seeds, number 3 Mertens and number 6 Danilovic.
So yet another young Czech player to add to the roster. Her ranking has skyrocketed this year in her first full season as a pro on the main tour.
2026 could be a big year for Canadian women's tennis. We've got Mboko and Layla playing well this year. Andreescu's coming back. I believe Bianca and Vicky are playing in the first round this week.
They are. I was just about to look up if it had happened yet.
So one of them will get their first win since August.
Yeah.
It's been a lean stretch for both of them. But if you have all 3 of those women firing on all cylinders in 2026, they each give a different feel, a different texture to women's tennis.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
It's not the same style of play. They can cause a lot of problems for the women next year.
Yeah. Mboko, of course, hasn't won a match since she won the Montreal title, which was a huge surprise and came much sooner than many of us had predicted. I know there are a few people who are enjoying
I don't think
this.
anybody predicted anything.
Sure.
I think she was not on many people's radars.
Right. I think a few people are they're getting tickled by her not winning another match since then. You know, there's a lot of haters out here. Not too much on Vicky, though. She'll be fine.
Naomi Osaka, who was resurgent at the US Open, had that big win, went to Osaka as the top seed, and unfortunately for her, had to pull out after suffering a leg injury in her second match at that tournament, did not take the court for the quarterfinal.
No, that's too bad. You know, Osaka is her birthplace, of course, hometown.
Her ranking's up. One of the things that she struggled with in her return to tour was being able to string wins together. And to my mind, a lot of that was due to her ranking.
Yeah.
Because she'd be playing tough opponents in her first match, second match. That shouldn't be the case for her in 2026. She'll be starting from a much better place next time we see her.
Medvedev has had a chaotic stretch these past few months, right? Crashing out literally and mentally at the US Open, having another controversy with an umpire where he was actually in the right, where he was cramping and got called for best efforts. This week in Kazakhstan, Almaty, he wins the 21st title of his career, all 21 happening at different tournaments in different cities. An incredible streak.
That is one of my favorite stats in all of tennis.
A true world traveler. You mentioned he hadn't won a tournament in such and such days.
882 days since he last won an ATP title, and that came in Rome 2023. His 5th title of the year to that point.
Yeah, he had an incredible start to 2023 and then didn't win a title since then. I don't know why they were splashing 882 days across every headline and every story I read. They really wanted you to feel that 882. They could have just said like 2.5-ish years.
We know that he parted with his coach after the US Open. He started working with Thomas Johansson and Rohan Gutska after the US Open. This title comes after he made the semifinals in Beijing and Shanghai. So he'd been building toward this. He's also building toward possibly, incredibly, qualifying for the ATP Finals, which just a couple months ago would have seemed impossible.
Yes, but he is one of the few who could still qualify. The other, in addition to Felix, is Casper Ruud.
And of course, the reason why there's so many people who are still in with a mathematical shot on the ATP Tour is because Paris gives you 1,000 points.
Yes. And the gulf between the top two and everyone else is huge, and there's just not a lot of variation in points in the top 10. There were fewer points going around.
Casper wins his 14th title in Stockholm, beating Ugo Humbert in the final. Notably at this tournament, the top 4 seeds made the semi-finals. Dennis could have made it 3 Canadians in finals this weekend, but he lost to Casper in the semis. This is also where Holger had to retire against Humbert, leading 6-4, 2-all in the second set. And he retired because he tore his Achilles. Horrendous injury. This is something that we saw very early in the year with Luca Pouille as well.
Was that this year?
Yeah, I believe so. And just last week or a couple of weeks ago, it happened to Kim Clijsters.
Yeah.
In an exhibition in Luxembourg.
Kim was training to play the Luxembourg, I guess it was like a Masters tournament. She was playing Alizé Cornet, ruptured her Achilles tendon, could not play, obviously. This is like one of the worst injuries you can get as a tennis player, but it is a common injury in these start and stop sports. And a lot of times for regular people, it happens when you've ramped up your exercise a lot and you haven't like properly built up your strength or your training. They're seeing it a lot in amateur pickleball, especially among older women, are rupturing their Achilles tendons on the pickleball court. Horrible.
It's a long recovery for regular folk where you're not needing to become a super duper professional athlete, return to that level. It takes 6 months.
Right.
For professional athletes, it can take up to 12, 18 months before you feel like you're back to your old self.
Mm-hmm. Holger did say that it's a full rupture of the proximal Achilles tendon, which is like the top of the Achilles tendon. It is pretty long, and he confirmed that it will require surgery. I've read some things about how among the normies, surgery and conservative treatment often have similar outcomes and a similar likelihood of re-rupture. So for regular people, a lot of times they won't do surgery, they'll just let it heal on its own. For a tennis player, he's going to get surgery to repair this. But as you said, to return to high-performance athletics, this could take a year.
And it really sucks for him because he's been playing really well lately.
And the sad thing is there's no guarantee that you won't rupture it again. Or you won't rupture the other one.
Because you've been relying on that other leg more while you recover. You put added strain on it. I don't know if there's actual science behind that, but that's my layperson.
But I know he'll have access to the best physiotherapy there is, like the best rehab. But this really just derails someone's career.
Potentially. Jelena Rybakina won her 10th title in Ningbo. She beat Alexandrova in the final.
This is Alexandrova's second final of the past few weeks. Losing to Iga a few weeks ago, she's just entered the top 10. A really great stretch for her. This is Elena's second title of the year. She also won the 500 tournament in Strasbourg.
She's played a bunch of tournaments. I saw a stat where I think it said she's played over 70 matches this year.
She has.
She's made the quarterfinals at a bunch of tournaments. She just hasn't had the big wins, the big breakthroughs that one would maybe expect from somebody of her stature. Mm-hmm. Of course, there's been a lot going on with Rybakina this year.
Indeed. Her suspended coach officially coming back into her camp. But as you said, she has played 71 matches this year, which is the most she's ever played in her career. And it's not over, right? She's planning to keep going and try to qualify for the WTA Finals.
Where are we at with the ATP WTA Finals race?
Let's start with WTA. Paolini has qualified at number 7. This week is the last week that anyone can potentially qualify. We're waiting on one, right? It's between Andreeva and Rybakina. Rybakina is currently 14 points behind Andreeva after winning Ningbo, and Andreeva lost her opening round there. Mira is not playing Tokyo, but Elena is.
I wonder what the calculation is there.
Oh, the decision not to play?
For such a young player to not play. I wonder, is she injured?
I don't know. I mean, Mira, she won 2 1,000 titles. The fact that she's a cusp player, that she's not easily qualified, is surprising, right? She hasn't had the results she's wanted. She's looked emotional and angry on the court a lot, and maybe she just needs a break. The math here is kind of interesting. Because Rybakina has played so much, she has already amassed enough 500s. So she has some quarterfinal results in 500s that she needs to best in order for Tokyo to count at all. So if she reaches the quarterfinals in Tokyo, she will make no points toward the race. She has to reach the semis.
Well, the reason why she's struggling to make this WTA Finals, despite winning 2 1,000 events, is because the depth on the WTA Tour is crazy. And I know people kind of get tired of that talk, but this is one of the tangible things you can point to actually prove it. The number 9 player in the ATP race, Felix, has something like 3,145 points. Rybakina at number 9 currently has 4,305 points. So that's an almost 1,200 point difference for the same spot on either tour. Andreeva has 4,319 points.
And you also already qualified. You have 4 different slam winners. You have Anisimova, who's made 2 finals. Jasmine Paolini, who has really backed up her breakout season from last year.
On the men's side, there's a lot of people who could still qualify.
Yes.
In fact, only 3, I think you mentioned this, only 3 have qualified so far. Carlos, Yannick, and Novak. That guy's at number 4, Taylor Fritz 5, Shelton 6, Duminar 7, Musetti 8, and Felix 9. Draper's at 10. His season is done. We know that. He's not in the running. Kasper at 11. Holger at 12. His season is done. You know, if you go and look on the live rankings, at this time of season for the race, they'll put a little X beside somebody's name who doesn't stand a statistical possibility of making the final.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have people all the way down at number 22 in Flavio Cobolli who could still potentially qualify. It's not likely. They'd have to pretty much run the table to do it, but it's still possible. Cobolli, Cerundolo, Menchik, Davidovich Fokina, Lehechka, Bublik, Rublev, Medvedev, Ruud, all with a shot at making the ATP Finals, even though they're behind Felix at number 9.
So what's left? This week we've got Basel and Vienna, both 500 tournaments, followed by the 1,000 in Paris, and then the final week is Athens and Moselle, both 250s. Athens is formerly Belgrade. As you said, Djokovic qualified. He only played 12 tournaments this year, if you don't count the 6 Kings Slam. Will he play the finals? I don't know. That is most likely the huge priority for him. But I do wonder if he'll appear in Athens, because that is kind of his hometown tournament.
That guy has pretty much the same number of points at number 4 in the ATP race as does Rybakina at number 9 on the WTA Tour.
To be fair, WTA does have one more Masters event than the men.
Okay.
I don't know why I'm being fair.
When Holger ruptured his Achilles, it offered some another opportunity to talk about the grueling schedule in tennis. One person who took that chance was Jack Draper. Perhaps a useful mouthpiece, because he too has had to end his season because of injury. He was out here talking about how, quote, sport must adapt. And whenever this type of conversation happens, whenever the players are deemed to be complaining about the schedule, about the grueling nature of tennis, people always clap back and say, well, you know, you don't have to play. You've said it a lot on this podcast. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't have to play, you know? And the other thing that's tacked on to that is, well, what about the exhibitions? You're complaining about playing all these tournaments, but yet here you are in Timbuktu collecting a check.
Yeah, that's always the clapback. And let me just say that a few things can be true at the same time. You don't have to play every tournament. The schedule is long. It's extremely grueling. I agree with them. And also, don't you like to complain at work? Everybody likes to complain about their job. Like, that's also just part of it.
also, one of the benefits of being a top tennis player, for a lot of them, they struggle for years before they become a top tennis player. It's the rare bird who gets to the top of the game in tutus, right? Mm-hmm. You spend all that time investing in your career, the cost involved, and you get to be a top player. One of the benefits of that is that you get to collect a check. Now, we'd like you to make it an ethical check, but yes, make the coin. We just saw this week, Holger's career may never be the same. Just like that. A young man, I'm not going to say kid, a young man, 21, 22 years old, who may not be the same player ever again.
Right. You don't know when it's going to be taken away. The last year, you're a 6th king. This year, you're basically in a wheelchair.
You're a pauper.
Right. You have no Achilles tendon. I agree. Like, if someone is offering you $6 million to play some hit and giggle bullshit that nobody cares about, why would you say no? $6 million for what? It's not a real tournament. You know, like...
Right, well, this is where the ethical check comes in.
They don't have to try. They don't. This government, the kingdom, shells out millions of dollars for a tournament that had nary a deciding set. They were all the matches were straight sets. They were mostly garbage. Djokovic retired in his. You still collect that check if you retire after a long first set.
It was like 3-4 days of a couple matches a day. That's it.
Like, what are we doing here? Selling the rights to Netflix. Okay, get your $6 million. I don't care. And I also don't think it really invalidates complaints about the schedule because this is not real tennis.
Maybe we can tack this on. It'll save you having to respond to an email. We got a listener reaching out to us a couple weeks ago. Still in our inbox. Apologies for that. A new listener who wanted to know why we were so, not even apathetic, but despising of Laver Cup. When we were paying somewhat attention to Davis Cup, other kinds of group team tennis events.
Were we, though?
We said we weren't, but then we knew what was going on. We talked about it quite a bit on the episode.
Listen, I don't want to harsh your mellow at all. Like, you should like what you like. And if you had a great time at Laver Cup, that's so great. I genuinely love that for you. It's just something that's not for me. I don't watch tennis for team events. I don't really even like sports that much, if I'm being totally honest. So team sports is just, it's not something that I'm looking for in my sports watching experience. Yes, I'm watching the Blue Jays this week and cheering for them heartily, but I'm not going to follow them all year. You know, so I don't know.
You're not?
Really? What do they play, like 160 games? Come on.
So you are a bandwagonist.
Exactly.
Okay.
Laver Cup has just never been for me. Even when Rafa was playing, when Big Four was there, I don't think I'm going to change my mind. But that doesn't mean other people can't like it. I love that.
I think one of your qualms is the idea of it having stakes. That the stakes specifically for Laver Cup aren't real. They're made up.
No, it's more funny than anything because it's so insistent, right? Every year it was, they try really hard. Like, okay, I still don't care. That's still not going to make me care. Just because the players try really hard and it's important to them, it still doesn't mean it's a real tournament. It doesn't have a real draw. It doesn't have real selection or qualification criteria. Just say that you're playing this thing for money. That's okay. There's no problem with, you know, you have a short lifespan as an athlete. Your body is finite. It could go literally at any time. Make your money while you can. I believe that. But you don't have to convince me. Like, you don't have to, work so hard. The insistent enthusiasm about anything is always going to be a turnoff for me.
You're also a contrarian.
Yes.
You're a contrarian bandwagonist.
But if you insist I be excited about something, I'm probably going to have the opposite reaction. And that's just me.
I object to the nationalistic aspect of it. They're trying to do this Ryder Cup, President's Cup type thing with Team World versus Team International, blah, blah, blah. And
Team Europe.
Okay. Team World versus Team Europe. Yes, you get my point. I don't enjoy when sports becomes this big brouhaha for flag. And people act all boisterous and hooliganish in the stands with flags. Not into it. It's never been my aesthetic, my milieu, my bag.
Well, yeah, I agree.
If I see that you're interested in playing, you want to play, you've qualified, and people who qualify consistently show up, then that becomes a legitimizing factor. But for now, it's Alex Mickelson. Why? Like, I don't get it.
Shots fired. Wow. Just strays at Alex Mickelson.
What draw is he to Laver Cup? It makes zero sense.
Yeah. I love that people are excited about tennis and they're spending money on tennis. Apparently, the tournament is not doing that great financially since the retirement of most of the big four. They had a budget shortfall this year that people are speculating Roger Federer personally made up out of his own checkbook.
I did enjoy when we had Fedal and we get those moments courtside, those cute moments, the camaraderie. I enjoyed watching those things behind the scenes. I haven't enjoyed how much they prop up that guy with this tournament. That's been a serious detracting factor for me over the years. Mm-hmm. And now it just seems that the product is seriously depleted. You're not even getting that anymore. This is a long tangent, but that saved us an email.
I'm curious, though, where the PTPA lawsuit goes, because they did talk about exhibitions and the tours limiting players' earning potential by limiting where they're allowed to play outside of the tours. And it's an interesting argument because PTPA is saying you can't control where these independent contractors sell their labor. They should be able to play exhibitions whenever and wherever they want in a free market. And I kind of wonder, like, this is almost like the old days of tennis, the very early open era, the early professional era, where there was a mix of tours and like random exhibitions and tournaments that were giving massive appearance fees and players not paying taxes and blowing cocaine up their noses. Like, that was the Wild West of tennis. So I wonder if the PTPA is looking for that again.
This is going to be a very short episode. We're pretty much done with all the tennis talk. We have a couple more things that we want to talk about outside of tennis, starting with a concert we went to on Thanksgiving Eve, Canadian Thanksgiving Eve. For $35 Canadian, we were able to pretty much be front row to watch David Archuleta perform. Oh, it was standing room only, but you get the gist.
Yeah, but you can weasel your way toward the front. David was from American Idol. You remember him when he was young and Mormon?
He's still young, just not Mormon.
No longer well, not really young either. He's in his 30s now.
He's 34. To me, that's young.
Oh, okay.
Considering I am not 34 anymore. I would love to be 34.
He recently came out as queer and has kind of blossomed, right? He's having this delayed, well, I don't want to say adolescence, but many of our community experienced that because they didn't get to experience it when they were teenagers. He told Kelly Clarkson recently that he is finally feeling sexy.
Well, he looked it.
He did.
At the show. He came right out and got right down on that floor.
Yep. The encore is shirtless.
Uh-huh.
That's the only portion of the evening that is shirtless.
It's really taxing to be a gay in these streets because I've seen so many of those shirtless videos on TikTok. Once you watch one, they keep propagating, right? Mm-hmm. And you read the comments and it goes from, wow, the dancing is so tacky. And then another one is, oh, I love his little belly.
We are so sick as a community.
Like, this man spends...
It is hard out here in these streets.
Hours upon hours in the gym. Has an objectively great body. Most people would kill to have it. And this person thinks they're giving a compliment. Oh, I love his little belly. But what they're saying is he doesn't have a six-pack.
Because he's not starving.
Welcome to the life, David.
His voice sounds great. I tried to study up because I haven't listened to a lot of his newer music. He has an EP called Earthly Delights that just came out. So I was trying to like cram for the concert. I knew a lot more of the songs than I expected. And I remember his old hits. Crush being the banger.
I'm not one for live music necessarily. Like if it's an artist I really like, typically a legacy artist at this point, I will go see them. And it's usually in a bigger setting. I'd never been to a live music event where it's standing room only with a capacity of like 600 people. But the space, the Mod Club, was pretty cool on College Street.
You've never been to a club like that?
No, I'd never been to one.
Really?
Yeah. It was easy to move around. You could get close to the stage. Didn't feel cramped. It was, if there is an artist who I know and like, I would go do that again. I would seek out that experience. I thought it was cool.
Casey Musgraves came to Toronto a few weeks ago. I think the weekend before that. And I was like, oh, let me see. Maybe I'll go see her this weekend. Then I found out it was part of a festival. Absolutely not. No, not a chance in hell am I doing that.
You're not going to Coachella next year?
You know, it was, she's going to play sometime on Sunday alongside all these other people I don't know. And the ticket is like $300. Are you serious? No, I just want to see Casey. And Jasmine Sullivan a few years ago was doing the same thing at Budweiser stage, you know, at
I know where it is.
Ontario place. No, I'm not doing that. Never in my life. One thing, you remember we used to do things we like on the show? One thing I like, what I love, is recently in Mexico City, Casey Musgraves covered SZA's Kill Bill with a mariachi band. That was the coolest thing ever. So if you're interested, you can find it anywhere. TikTok.
And what is something you dislike?
Everything else. Let me be positive here.
We really haven't done that segment in a very long time.
No.
Oh, something I disliked. Diane Keaton died.
Yeah. Heavy dislike.
For gays of a certain age, the closing sequence of First Wives Club will forever be emblazoned in our memory.
Yeah.
You know that reference that I just did there?
That was a Mariah
vividly emblazoned in our minds. Incredible. Goldie Hawn flanking on the right, Diane Keaton in the middle, Bette Midler on the left, and they're singing You Don't Own Me. And don't tell me what to say.
And the original, You Don't Own Me, is by Leslie Gore, a huge pop star in the early 60s. Actually, one of the reasons Quincy Jones broke out as a producer and songwriter is producing for Leslie Gore, who was a massive star at the time. And it became this anthem, you know, for women's liberation, for queer liberation. That had so much meaning, seeing it in the First Wives Club, too. I loved Diane in The Godfather. Obviously, like, the famous ending of The Godfather, spoiler alert, is Michael Corleone closing the door on her, who is now his wife, and her looking back, realizing what their life is going to be like. Incredible. She's such an incredible actress. Annie Hall, of course. Unfortunately, I haven't watched Annie Hall in a long, long time, and probably never will again because of the Woody Allen stuff. And Diane was a very full-throated supporter of her friend and former partner, Woody, through all of this sexual assault allegations and disgusting stuff that he's done. She excused it all. So that's something you just kind of have to take, along with the good.
It's not really something I saw a lot of at all, with people eulogizing her after her death.
No, I mean, you don't usually, do you? People love her. Like, she's such a unique figure in pop culture. There was literally no actor like her. She was a personality and an image as much as an actor, you know?
Oh, and Daddy, I'm a lesbian. A big one. Is that the new outro for the show? Another iconic scene from First Wives Club. That is just one of the best movies ever made. Ever, period, point blank.
I beat Meryl.
Goldie.
Incredibly iconic line.
We're going to go edit now while we watch Game 7 of the American League Championship Series.
Mm-hmm.
The Blue Jays tied it up last night with a bunch of home runs. And it's winner take all for the prize of being the super underdog in the World Series against Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers.
I'll take it.
My name is Jonathan. You can find me on Blue Sky at Tennis John.
I'm James at ElliotJMR.
2 L's, 2 T's. You can find everything BodyServe related at linktree.com/thebodyserve. Thanks for listening.
Till next time.
Thank you very much.